Hey, welcome back to M Hood Fishing. This afternoon I've come down to the river here in Natchez, Mississippi to talk about fishing a rapidly falling river. Now it is at 35.8 right now. It's been dropping a lot over the week, like about a foot or more a day, and sometimes it feels like 2 feet. And there's a lot of things that you should know when the river's doing that, and I'm going to share with you my experiences, discoveries, and ideas in this video. And we're also going to be fishing my bait caster that I got from my father. We're going to practice swim baits on it. There's already a bit of activity out here. Wow. So yeah, the river is going to drop a little bit throughout the night, but it's kind of going to stabilize for about almost 48 hours. Just a really slow drop, really, and then a little more of a drop. Last bit of this month it's predicted to drop slow, but last week it did not drop slow. It dropped really fast. So let's get on with it. First off, before we get talking about stuff, here's the bait that I'm using. Now that's a Gambler swim bait hook with a blade on it. It's 1/8 ounce. The weight's right there, you see that? And we're using a Smoking Shad super salty fluke by Zoom. Might go darker. I only brought some hooks and some swim baits down here. Woo! When I first came to this area over 3 months ago, the river was above all this. It was all the way up here on the road that I'm walking towards right now. And it was up here for a good part of this year. So when you have a high river for that amount of time, that's a long time for the river to saturate the bank. And now that the river has been dropping really fast, it's leaving behind in its wake highly saturated areas. Some areas are safe to walk on, others are muddy. Some guys would be like, oh, so what, it's muddy. In some cases, you could sink really deep and be stuck. There is quicksand in places, but it sucks to be stuck, man. So it's pretty simple, like careful where you walk. Let's see, this is sinky. Let's see, whoa, no. Where'd my foot go? If you want to stand knee deep in mud and fish while you sink, go ahead, but I don't advise it. This stuff can leave you smelling like sulfur. And if you have like scratches or open wounds, you can easily get infected standing in deep stuff. You just have to do a trial and error, and you'll find good places to walk. There are some other things I'm going to point out that are dangerous about walking along this river after it's dropped so fast. Nice. So this is an eddy that I'm fishing. There's a couple of them in this area. I'm just going to keep my swim bait high in the column and work it kind of fast. I'm casting towards the sun right now. Later on, if the sun gets clouded or is close to the horizon, I'll start casting upstream so I can work my swim bait with the current. Now, eddies can be interesting when the river's dropping really fast, but they're going to be different each day depending on how fast that river's dropping. One day you could do fine fishing the bottom for cats, and the next day it could be just totally snaggy and the current seemed strong, which might not make sense if the river's lower the next day. But what you got to understand is when it's bigger, the current has a much bigger area, the eddy has a much bigger area, and as the river drops, it's a smaller area. So at first the current is going to get tighter in that eddy until the river stabilizes. Can I do it? Ooh, kind of got to get to these rocks. If there's rocks, you're not going to get stuck in the mud, but you might slip and fall on your butt. All right, let's give this a cast. It's still early, it's after 5:30, but we're getting up to that period where fish should start feeding close to the bank here because the bait's going to show up. On days where the river's going to drop really fast and hard, after being here for a while, I've learned that I don't like fishing the main river so much for cats or, just fishing the bottom. I'd rather either throw artificials like this or go to like feeder creeks or try to find an eddy where I'm not going to get super snagged, because I haven't had too many productive days fishing the bottom for cats when the river was going to drop really hard and fast throughout the day. And I find that I get snagged more. I get snagged a lot on those days where the river's just dropping. I mean, it's changing fast during the day. So I'd rather do this or go to a feeder creek. I'm making my way down the bank to another eddy. Looks like a wasteland too. Look, there's some steps right there. Another one of these tie-off stones, or maybe the Druids of Mississippi left these behind. There's a lot of these standing stones that people used to tie the barges to. Lots of tracks here. Sometimes, you know, you're in an area where there's deer or pigs along the bank and you see their tracks. If they're fresh and they're deep and you haven't stepped in there yet, and you're probably going to go deep too. Some of you might weigh more than the deer too, so you might go deeper than the deer. Deeper deer. Wow, look how this current is just gyrating in here. I think right in front of these rocks, like, see these rocks right here in the water? I think there's a drop off just in front of them. Probably more rocks under there too. I'm making my way towards the bridge, but I'm looking out for what I call false ground. Like, you see these cracks right here by my foot? Sometimes it's obvious. This is an area where the river got up into the ground so deep. You know, this ground here, this bank, got so saturated that as the river quickly receded, there's water left in there that is leaking out. It looks like a spring. I'll show you some other areas. But what happens is it can be coming out of more than just a visual place. So it can create cavities in the sand, and you won't know they're there till you step and you go down. I mean, you just can end up hurting yourself, and you're far down the bank and all of a sudden you've got a sprained ankle and you're stuck. Whoa, and it creates sinkholes too. See my footprint? Gotta be careful. This area, you see the gravel? That's really loose. I've already been through here the other day. There's a lot of water coming up out of this bank right now. Here's a good example. This area is not stable. I got to go up on top of it, but if I walk along the edge of this drop off here, as you can see, the sand is just going to cave underneath me and I could end up on my butt down on these rocks. So I got to be careful. I went through here the other day. Come up high. Right, this is an area where there's a lot of water coming out of the earth, going back into the river. You won't notice it unless you look real close, but it's there. And this gravel's all loose. Don't know about the sediment underneath it, but it could be an iffy place to step. Don't know, you never know how deep you're gonna go. Old train track. This area is just like where I just came through, but bigger. There's more water coming out. I went through here the other day. It was kind of deep. I'm gonna come up high. The reason why I'm so cautious coming through this area is because I'm real close to a drop off and the current is very strong in here. I don't want to make the false move and fall in there and get carried away back to where I moved from. Wow, this is flowing just like a spring. Really cold too. Wouldn't drink it. Dude, it is crazy. Look at this. This is what's left of a train trestle. It didn't go all the way down the river. It just looped down right here and went back up. It used to, supposedly, from what I've been told from a historian here, there was a ferry that would come over from Vidalia, Louisiana, over across the river here, and load stuff on the train, or stuff would be unloaded off the train, and then it'd go over to Louisiana. Wow, look what I just found. Isn't that insane? That is absolutely insane. Okay, that just about does it for me. A nice little practice session. I had one serious bite. River is kind of rough right now because of a barge that just went by. So remember, when you go out there right now on the river, don't get stuck, because you're not going to want to have to cut your leg off with a Swiss Army knife. So be careful out there, and take my advice. If you're going to fish the river when it's rapidly dropping, stick to places you know. Go to feeder creeks and runouts if you still have them. A runout is where the river was flooded up in something, and now that the river's dropping, it's coming out of there. But we're a little late for a lot of runoffs, maybe runouts. I mean, maybe you have runouts. All my runouts are ran out. So feeder creeks is what I'm going to do next, probably when I come out to do this with artificials. And be safe out there. Don't want to have to come pull your butt up out of the mud. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. Check out the merchandise down below, and I will see you next time.